so with your cleanup teams, there's going to be a team that's doing stewarding, that's garbage and floors. There'll be a team that does pot wash and dishes, which means they just tidy up the area. It doesn't mean that everybody doesn't do their own dishes. That is not the case. Everybody should be taking care of their dishes as they go. That's part of managing your time. And finally, the last group is packaging and product return. So if there's anything we haven't used, we have to put it back into the big trucks we get from receiving, make sure it's all labeled, nice and neat, and it goes back to receiving. The next week's chef of the day will take the cart back. At the end of the class, the last duties for the chef of the day, once everyone is left, is to do a walk around with me. We will make sure that everything is as it should be. If you've delegated it all out, it should be fine, it will be taken care of. If it's not, then it's your responsibility to fix it. If the floors aren't clean, pot sinks aren't done, so it's really in your best interest to make sure everything gets delegated properly. Next, a major factor in cooking is temperature. Knowing when things are cold enough, knowing when things are hot enough. Your thermometer has to be calibrated correctly. I'm sure you've all read about how to do it. I'm just going to give you a little demo on how to right now. This here is just a regular thermometer, and I have a container of ice water here. So if you just kind of push this around like it's a slurry, it should go down to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 Celsius, right? If it's not reading that, then there is always an adjuster on the back so that you can change the thermometer. This one is calibrated correctly because I use it all the time. So this has to be done, and you all need to do it in your groups to make sure that your thermometers are working properly. So once that's done, you take a clean towel or probe thermometer, wipe it down, and then your thermometer is calibrated. You need to check that your cold food is cold when you're receiving it. When you go to receiving, you make sure everything is in the truck, that it's held properly, that in the fridges you've stored things as they should be, so you have finished product on the top, you have washed products in the middle, and you have raw chicken, meat, and fish at the bottom, just so that you're not cross-contaminating anything. Keep it in your own fridges the same way so that you're not putting chicken above pasta or whatever, so you're not mixing foods. Next, your waste management. So when you are cleaning your fish, when you are cleaning your chickens, we're going to be doing a lot of butchery in this class. You have to make sure you keep food products separated so that if it is usable product, we can use it for stocks. If it's not a usable product, then you have a food waste bin. I don't want anything going into the garbage unless it's packaging. Packaging is the only thing I want to see in the garbage. Otherwise, I need to see your waste so that you can see how much food you are actually producing, and that way you can figure out later on what kind of yield you're getting out of your product. The uniform expectations when you walk in is to look like this every single time. If you're in a hurry, if you're coming from another lab, if you have been outside for a smoke, it doesn't matter. None of this matters to me. When you walk in, you are in pristine shape. You have a jacket that is clean, your pants are tidy, your shoes are shined, you're wearing proper steel-toe, non-slip CSA approved shoes, and an apron and side towels. This I have no exceptions for. It needs to be complete. Your hair tied needs to be nice and clean. Again, no perfumes, no aromatics at all in the classroom or in the lab. And lastly, one of the things I want to cover is being prepared. Coming to class with something called a plan of attack. I want you to have in your hands something that says what you're going to do for the day and what order you're going to do it in. I do it for myself. Every day I make a lesson plan. What I'd like you guys to do is create your own lesson plan or plan of attack. So when you walk in, you know you have to butcher first, and then you have to make a stock, and then you're going to do your side veg and so on and so forth. You need to know what steps you're going to do first. Otherwise, you lose the first 15 minutes of the class not knowing what's going on. It also forces you to read through the recipes and know what we're going to be doing in the class. Very essential to the class running smoothly. My expectation that every time you walk in, you have a plan of attack in your hand. You will be marked accordingly if you have one or not. Your tools that you need are right here. You're going to need some different tools for different days. Some of the times you'll need tools that maybe you don't have. Usually the college will provide them for you, like if it's a pasta machine or if it's an oyster shucker, things that you don't necessarily have yet because you've just started, that's okay. Most of the items I have myself that I can lend to you, or the college has some and they put it in the truck for us. You're for sure going to need a chef's knife. This is your multi-everything knife. You're going to need a serrated knife for cutting breads and fruits and the like. You're going to need some sort of utility or vegetable knife, and then a little paring knife. You'll need a peeler, a steel, which I'll show you how to use shortly, and then a wooden spoon and possibly tongs. I try and stay away from tongs. It makes you distant from the food so that you don't know when it's fully cooked. You need to be very close contact with your food when you're cooking. So when you are sharpening your knives, just so you have a basic sort of idea, all of your knives should be sharp because you've just gotten them. But to keep the edge, you need to keep it at a 20-degree angle and just pull it down right from the bottom to the tip. Right? Once you have that, you do it every time you do a major job in the day, not once or twice a day. You're going to need to do about 5 or 6 times during a class. Then you know your knife is staying nice and sharp and it hones the edge. We'll go more into that, and we'll show you how to do it on a stone later in this class. What I'd like to make sure that you all understand is how you're going to be evaluated in this class. With the rubric, it breaks it down into parts. You must come in proper uniform. I can't stress it enough. You need to have your plan of attack ready, so you've read your recipes, manage your time so that you can get everything accomplished within the 2 hours that we're here, and that you have a great attitude and you just want to learn. And as long as you bring all of those things with you, then you should be fine. Alright, so we've covered just about everything you need to know in the lab. The last few things, after you've taken care of your knives, the stations are all nice and tidy, you make sure all the garbages are taken out, recycling is taken away, the food waste bins are brought back to receiving, they have proper bins to put it into. I want to make sure that we fill in our checklists. There's a checklist that comes with every box that we bring down from receiving. It says exactly what's inside of there. We need to check and make sure that's done. It also has a checklist of what needs to be done in the lab to keep it up to par of where it is today. As you can see, the lab is beautiful, it's clean, it's sanitized. So in order to keep it at that level, they've asked that we go through this checklist. Alright, so on the fridges there are thermometers. It'll tell you the temperature. We all know the temperature that fridges are supposed to be at. It should be between 4 and 60 degrees, or it should be outside of 4 and 60 degrees Celsius. So it needs to be colder than 4 degrees. If it is a freezer, it needs to be at minus 18 degrees Celsius. This you can check and make sure that it is done, that it is holding at the right temperatures, because we're holding food in these sometimes overnight. We need to make sure that they're holding, and they get checked twice a day. So if someone's already checked it, just put your initial beside it so that you too have checked it for the day. It is part of doing your duties as chef. You need to also, with the packaged items, make a list of what we're returning so that they know what they've got to sell, so that if anything gets lost in the shuffle, they know. It kind of gives them an inventory of what they're selling in the Gourmet Express restaurant. This is all to help keep the cost of the college down. It enables us to use some very fine foods in the kitchen and learn with better products. If we don't do this, then costs go up and then you're not able to use as finer products as we have here. The end of class inspection, I will walk around with the chef of the day and we'll make sure that everything is in place as I had mentioned. And you are the example of the day. When you are chef of the day, you need to be here early, you need to be in a pristine uniform, you need to delegate and give people tasks. Politely, please and thank you goes a long way no matter what kitchen you're in. I have never been in a kitchen where I didn't say please and thank you. Make sure you use them. That is pretty much it for today. We need to make sure that we don't bring any food and drink into the class. Like I said, if you need to take a break, please feel free to go outside and take a break when you need it. I will be giving you a break midway through the class so that you know at about an hour or so I'll let you take off, and then you can finish 10 minutes later the rest of the class. That should be it for the day, and we can get started on our icebreakers.